देवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकाम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम Ramo Ramo Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, chapter entitled Brahma Stealing the Boys and Cows. Text 20. Swayam Atma Govatsan Prativarya Atmavatsapaihi Kridan Atmaviharaihi Cha Sarvatma Pravishat Vrajam Swayam Atmatma Govatsan Prativaryatma Vatsapaihi Kridan Atma Viharaischa Sarvatma Pravishat Vrajam Swayam Atmatma Govatsan Prativaryatma Vatsapaihi Kridan Atma Viharaischa Sarvatma Pravishat Vrajam Swayam Atmatma Govatsan Prativaryatma Vatsapaihi Kridan Atma Viharaischa Sarvatma Pravishat Vrajam. Matajis. Swayam Atma Krishna, who is personally the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul. Atma Govatsan, now expanded into cows that were also he himself. Prativarya Atmavatsapaihi, again he himself was represented as the cowherd boys, controlling and commanding the cows. Kridan, thus himself, constituting everything in these transcendental pastimes. Atma Viharaischa, enjoying himself by himself in different ways. Sarvatma, the super soul, Krishna, Pravishat, entered Vrajam, Vrajabhumi, the land of Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Now expanding himself so as to appear as all the cows and cowherd boys, all of them as they were, and at the same time appear as their leader, Krishna entered Vrajabhumi, the land of his father, Nanda Maharaj, just as he usually did while enjoying their company. Purport. Krishna usually stayed in the forest and pasturing ground, taking care of the calves and cows with his associates, the cowherd boys. Now that the original group had been taken away by Brahma, Krishna himself assumed the forms of every member of the group, without anyone's knowledge, even the knowledge of Baladev, and continued the usual program. He was ordering his friends to do this and that, and he was controlling the cows and going into the forest to search for them, and when they went astray, allured by new grass. But these calves and boys were he himself. This was Krishna's inconceivable potency as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami. Radha Krishna Pranay Vikritir Hladini Shaktir Asmat. Radha and Krishna are the same. Krishna, by expanding his pleasure potency, becomes Radharani. The same pleasure potency, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, was expanded by Krishna when he himself became all the calves and boys and enjoyed a transcendental bliss in Brajabhumi. This was done by the Yogamaya potency and was inconceivable to persons under the potency of Mahamaya. So this is a beautiful section of the 10th canto, and this particular volume has been specially published by the BBT, which only contains this 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam of the 10th canto. And the reason it has been separately published is because this was the last section of Srimad Bhagavatam which Srila Prabhupada translated and gave purports. And practically all of these shlokas we are reading now were translated and given purports by Srila Prabhupada when he was literally bedridden and very severely physically incapacitated. But if you see the videos, you will see the great determination with which the devotees, they would be holding the dictaphone and Prabhupada would be translating. And you can see the word-to-word translation. Each one of the words Srila Prabhupada is elaborately expanding upon, which shows that a pure devotee is beyond the faculties of the body, mind, and the pain related to the body. Otherwise, the Kaviraj and the doctors at that time said that the pain one experiences is so intense that it is not possible to remain alert and focused in this situation. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada was demonstrating by his example the great need for all of us to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he himself completely dedicated till the last moment, till the last breath, the translation and purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a great fortune for us to be discussing this section, which has very great historical significance from the point of view of ISKCON. And Srila Prabhupada said that I want to actually give many more books. I want to give Mahabharata, I want to give Ramayana, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, but there was not sufficient time, and Srila Prabhupada knew it, and therefore he also gave Krishna book well in advance. So So this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the bewilderment of Lord Brahma in the Shamskanda. Many years ago, when we had gone for Vrindavan Yatra, this was 2001 Vrindavan Yatra, and we were going to that spot where Brahma Vimohan Leela took place. And there were 1,000 devotees, and we had probably 15, 20 or little more than that buses. And as we were going to that spot, it was pretty late in the evening. And for devotees who were there in that yatra, they will remember that somehow one bus took a wrong turn and all the buses followed in parampara. And then we landed up at the wrong place, and I think it was a local Brijvasi on his field. Practically all of these buses lined up. And then we found out that that is the wrong place and we have to go to some other place. So after we actually arrived at the right place, and then we took the seat. So Maharaj was there, Dinbandhu Prabhu was there. So Maharaj was, he began his lecture by appreciating the culture of the Brajavasis, and he said that if we were in America and if 1,000 people had landed on someone else's property, he would have probably taken a gun and started shooting. But here this Brajavasi, whose name was Pitambar Prabhu. So this Brajavasi, he said, "It is my greatest fortune that 1,000 Vaishnavas have come on my land, and therefore I am confident that whatever seeds I put will give very good crops." That was the consciousness of the Brajavasis. So then the second thing which he mentioned at the beginning of the talk was that since we have come to the sthali of Brahma Vimohan Leela, where Brahmaji got bewildered, so it is appropriate that all of us also got bewildered and we could not find the right place. And since we are coming in Brahma Sampradaya, so we had to follow in the footsteps of our Acharya. So Parikshit Maharaj, he asks the appropriate question that why this pastime of Aghasur mokshan was spoken after 1 year. Brahman kalantar kritam tat kalinam katam bhavet. Why it was spoken after 1 year? I want to know. So he was very alert and he asked this question. And Parikshit Maharaj is glorifying his great fortune. Vayam dhanyatama loke guropi kshatra bandhava. We are so greatly fortunate. We are most fortunate. So naturally question can arise, if Parikshit Maharaj is about to die in 3 days, which dying person considers himself fortunate? So not only he is saying fortunate, he is saying I am most fortunate. Why? So it is described that one who gets the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is considered to be fortunate. One who gets to hear from a bona fide sadhu, guru, Vaishnavas is more fortunate. But here he says, Vayam pibamo muhustotta punyam Krishna kathamritam. This Krishna kathamritam I am able to hear muhu again and again, repeatedly. So therefore if one is able to hear Harikatha repeatedly, then he is considered most fortunate. So therefore Parikshit Maharaj is putting himself in that situation that death is inevitable, misfortune is inevitable, it is not within our control. But within the precincts of this material world, anyone who gets the opportunity to hear Harikatha repeatedly from bona fide sources, that is the greatest fortune, and in front of that fortune, all other apparent misfortunes and misgivings are insignificant. That's the whole idea. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is also extremely humble. He calls himself Kshatriya Bandhava. He is remembering his misbehavior, that I had Isha Bhava, and as a Kshatriya, I have a tendency to rule over others. But I misuse that by trying to rule over the great sage Shamik Rishi. And therefore, I did not behave myself properly. So it was a very unfortunate situation that I have been cursed to die in 7 days and 7 nights. But in this time of great misfortune, I have experienced the greatest fortune, that I am able to hear from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami, who doesn't stay at one place for more time than it takes to milk a cow. And he has decided to spend 7 full days and nights speaking Harikatha to me. So we should be so grateful to Srila Prabhupada that so many great acharyas have given lots of books and tikas and commentaries and Sambandha Gyan. But Srila Prabhupada, he was one of the very few personalities who has given opportunity for Abhideya by creating the infrastructure of the institution, of temple, facilities, so that the legacy of hearing chanting continues even after his disappearance. And therefore, we have a certain kind of stability where we can come together, hear, chant in the association of devotees without having too many anxieties of organizing other things, because that is how Srila Prabhupada created the whole ISKCON society. So therefore, this is considered to be the greatest fortune, dhanyatama. So at this point, Shukadeva Goswami, when he hears this question of Maharaj Parikshit, he goes into ecstasy. Itham smaprishta satubadarayani tat smaritananta khrita khilendriya. So all of his senses got stunned and he went into ecstasy when he heard this. Because as soon as he heard about Parikshit Maharaj's question, that what happened in that 1 year, Shukadeva Goswami immediately remembered how Krishna expanded himself into Krishna, how Krishna took care of Krishna, how the cowherd boys took care of the cows, how Krishna was managing and taking care of and feeding himself in so many other ways, and how Krishna reciprocated with the cowherd boys and the cowherd women and the cows by drinking their milk, by exchanging affection. So as soon as he remembered this exchange of Krishna, he went into total ecstasy and he became stunned. Krichrat punar labda bahir drishi shanaihi. So in the Bhagavatam, 2 places, Shukadeva Goswami gets stunned in ecstasy. One is just before the Brahma Vimohan Leela, when he remembers about Krishna's reciprocation and dealings with the Brajavasis, that in order to fulfill the desires of the Brajavasis had great desire to reciprocate with Krishna. To fulfill that desire, Krishna enacted such a pastime that he himself expanded Sarvam Vishnumayam, and he became so many different forms. And then the second pastime is the Sudama Leela. So during the description of the Sudama Leela, before that also, Shukadeva Goswami, he goes into ecstasy. So here, Prabhupada explains that the great souls merge in the ocean of ecstasy even while remembering Krishna. Just by remembrance of the Lord. He has not even spoken the pastime. He has not even started doing kirtan of the pastime. But just by remembrance, smaran, he remembers Krishna, Krishna's reciprocation, Krishna's qualities, and he goes into ecstasy. But because Vaishnavas are selfless, they are more interested in dissipating the pain of others than in accumulating pleasure for themselves. Therefore, Krichrat, with great difficulty, Krichrat Punar labdha bahir drishi. With great difficulty he opened his eyes. Right? So one should not think that, oh, looks like me. I also go through this every day in morning japa. Krichrat. Somebody has to shake me or hit me on the side or loudly shout in my ears. This is out of great transcendental ecstasy. Labda bahir pratyahatam bhagavatottama. And he thus spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj asked this question, which puts Shukadeva Goswami into ecstasy. Because in this pastime, we should know that many times Brahmaji gets, too much chastised in this pastime. Left, right and center. Right? So, that is of course there. But we should also know that from Brahmaji's point of view, his intention was not bad. If you see, the word used is Manju Mahitvam. Manju Mahitvam means he wanted to see the glory of Lord. He wanted to see two things. He had Vismay, he had astonishment and wonder due to two things. That how did this Aghasur who was going to go to hell suddenly get liberated? How did that happen? How can someone change, karmic destiny so drastically? Even when I am present. So he just couldn't take that so easily. And then secondly, when he saw the cowherd boy, that same person who's supposed to be so powerful, dealing with all other cowherd boys in a very frivolous manner. So these two things really made Brahma's four heads reel. So he just thought, okay, let me see how he will react if I do this. And then he did that. So in that sense, he wanted to see some more pastimes. Manju Mahitvam. He wanted to see some more pastimes of Krishna, because these two pastimes themselves were very attractive. Right? So therefore, he was, involving himself in this kidnapping of the cowherd boys. So Shukadeva Goswami at this stage is is in great ecstasy to hear this question. And he says, Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga Tvaya Bhagavatottama Yan Nutanayasi Ishasya Shrinvan Api Kathamuhu. He says, my dear Maharaj Parikshit, you are Mahabhaga and you are Bhagavatottama. Why you are Mahabhaga? Because you are so greatly fortunate that Krishna protected you within the womb. You are so fortunate that Krishna appeared and protected you from the attack of Brahmastra. Angushtam matram amalam spurat puratamaulinam apivya darshanam shyamam. He appeared in his blackish complexion with yellowish clothes which were glowing like thunderbolt. So you are so fortunate that Krishna protected you. So in that sense, all of us are fortunate because Krishna is providing us all the nourishment we need, protecting us. But the purpose of our existence should be understood. And if we do not realize that the purpose of our existence is to hear and chant the glories of Krishna, then we become unfortunate. So therefore, those who realize that my life is to dedicate to the process of sound vibration. Only these two forces move the world, sound and sex. So therefore, sound and sex move the world. If one is not inspired by sound, one will be inspired by sex. And that is what in the next verse he also describes. Satamayam sarabhritam nisargo yadarthavani shruti chetasam api pratikshanam navyavat achyutasatat shriya striya vitanam iva sadhu arta. So in the next verse he says that all of these great personalities, all of these personalities who are addicted to Krishna Katha, they keep speaking about Krishna just like Striya Vitanam Iva Sadhu Varta, as a materialist person is very eager to speak about women, sex life and money. Striya vitanam iva sadhu varta. So therefore, Shukadeva Goswami is explaining that the great souls have the ability to just draw out Krishna from anything. Just like the swan can take out milk in a mixture of milk and water. That means they have the ability to use anything and everything in the glorification of Krishna. Striya vitanam iva sadhu varta. So therefore, very important to understand what Prabhupada says, that a Paramahamsa is addicted to glorifying Krishna, whereas a materialistic person is very addicted to simply glorify topics of money and sex. Therefore, one who has actually come in contact with sound vibration and is dedicating his life to hear the sound, to glorify the sound, make priorities so that he can be in close touch and contact with sound, such a person is very fortunate. Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit, you are greatly fortunate. Because although you are about to die, you could be making so many other priorities. But you have made priority in your life the hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna. Prabhupada was in London. Two Indian gentlemen came to meet him. And Prabhupada started speaking about, how in the West people are so addicted to sense gratification. And they are just enjoying sense gratification just like pigs. And these two gentlemen, they started smiling and agreeing and nodding their head, thinking that, yeah, they are really unfortunate. This Western civilization is really bad. And then Prabhupada said, and there are greater pigs who come from across India. And they got shocked. And Prabhupada said that if you do not realize your real duty, as Mahaprabhu said, Bharat bhumite janma hoilayar, janma sarthaka kori, kora par upkar. This is the greatest par upkar we can do. Detach people from addiction to sex and attach them to the sound vibration. That is the mission which Mahaprabhu has given to all of us. So therefore, Shukadeva Goswami is glorifying Maharaj Parikshit, that he has this intense attachment to hear about Krishna, even in such a very, very difficult predicament. As against the fact that any materialistic person would be very eager to discuss only things which relate to his body, his ego, to his mind and senses. Like recently, in one city, one of the devotees had organized a program for me, and it was in a very unique place. I was just thinking that I have done programs in so many places, in jails or, in universities and factories and so many other different situations. So I had thought that I covered the whole range. But I was not aware that something else was also coming. And this program was organized in a cinema hall. It was a very famous cinema hall. And the owner of the cinema hall is kind of being cultivated by a devotee. So the first show begins at 12:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. So they had given us slot from 10 to 12. Do your satsang. Do your Bhagavad Puran before we begin Kali Puran. So it was mainly to attract many of his, social circle, his contacts, his business associates, and they said like 100 film stars are going to come, and so many writers and of script and all these things are going to come. So there were probably like, few hundred seats. And all his guests and associates were going to sit on top in the balcony. And other people were going to sit below. So practically speaking, the ground floor was filled with devotees. Even those who don't regularly come to temple came there. Because it was in a cinema hall. And on top, the program was actually meant for them. That those who, were his friends and associates and connected. Practically no one came. And then when our devotee was organizing, started asking why nobody has come, they have not even got up. What to speak of coming? Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, it is too early. The lecture is scheduled too early. So, now that we are in the movement for so many years, we take many things for granted. But it is actually a very small percentage in the whole world who are actually able to get this fortune of prioritizing their life in such a way that they can keep Krishna Katha as their priority. So, at this point, Parikshit Maharaj is very eager to hear about what exactly happened. So Shukadeva Goswami describes this pastime. Ahotiramyam pulinam vayasya swakeli sampat mridulacha balakam sputat saro gandha hritali patrika dhvani pratidhvani lasad drumakulam. So the pastime begins. Shukadeva Goswami is explaining. He says, Bruyu snigdhasya shishyasya guruva guhyam apyuta. Because you are submissive, because you are gentle, because you are free from hypocrisy, you are sincere, straightforward and honest, I will share these innermost secrets with you. And he begins explaining this pastime. And he says that after saving the boys and calves from Aghasur, Krishna and the cowherd boys, they were having a nice time on the bank of river Yamuna. So, aho atiramyam pulinam vayasya. So the bank of Yamuna is described as very beautiful, attractive and enchanting. Swakeli sampat mridulacha balakam. And that bank of river Yamuna was endowed with all opulences required for successfully completing Krishna's pastimes. Swakeli sampat. It was filled with opulences required for Krishna Lila. Mridulacha balukam. And there was very nice soft sand. As Dinmandu Prabhu always says in Vrindavan, the Vrajraj, which is like Johnson baby powder. Mridula achya balukam. So that sand was very fine. Sputat saro gandha hritali patrika dhvani pratidhvana lasad drumakulam. So Krishna was sitting and honoring prasadam with all different cowherd boys. So whenever one is honoring prasadam, 4 conditions are considered very favorable for honoring prasadam. Not that we need to hear this to increase our appreciation. We already have sufficient appreciation without these conditions also. So, in this verse it is described that first, he says that the first condition is sputata saro gandha. So Krishna chose a place which was very fragrant. So there were lots of fragrant flowers in the trees and the bushes all around. So that the place for eating should be very fragrant. It should not be smelling bad. It should be very fragrant. And secondly, Krishna was sitting with the cowherd boys and they were constantly laughing and joking. Right? They were laughing and joking, and in this way, the whole ambience should be very joyful while taking prasadam. Like, Krishna would tell the cowherd boys would start eating some item which they have brought themselves. And then they would say, this rasgulla or this whatever laddu is so delicious, it is so good, you cannot imagine. But I have brought so little, I won't be able to give you, Krishna. So Krishna would say, no, no, I want it, I want it, I want it. Says, no, no, it is difficult. So, no, no, you tell me how I can get it. He says, okay, whatever I tell you, you have to do. Krishna said, okay. So then they would say that you have to completely eat this item, you cannot leave anything back. So Krishna would say, okay, no problem. Then Krishna would eat the whole thing. And then Krishna would say, oh, it is so amazingly delicious, I want more. I want like this every day. And they would say, Arey, you are overeating. You are eating so much. Or sometimes Krishna, he would eat the remnants of the cowherd boys. And at the same time, he would want to give his remnants back to them. So Madhumangal was very much concerned that he should not have any jhuta. And he would say that my jati will go. So in order to, make him eat, sometimes Krishna would draw everyone's attention to the monkey. They would all be sitting and Krishna would say, just see the monkeys. They are so obedient. They have become so well trained. They have given up their monkey business. They are sitting silently. And all the cowherd boys will look towards the monkeys. That time Krishna would take his jhuta and put in the plate. And then Krishna would say, hey, come on, eat this fast, otherwise the monkey is going to jump and eat it. And immediately he would take and Krishna would make sure his remnants is eaten by them. So like that, Chakravarti Path gives a whole list of various wonderful exchanges which would happen between, Krishna and the cowherd boys. Or Krishna would sometimes catch hold of the cowherd boys as they were just biting into some item, and he would force them to give. So these were, some of the nice, joyful things which they were exchanging, so laughing and talking. So the whole ambience was very joyful. Like that. Just yesterday we were having our meeting and some devotees were expressing that, the prasadam distribution here at this temple, is many times filled with a lot of anxiety. How to make it more joyful. There is anxiety right from the beginning, whether you are standing in the right line or not. Because one time one fellow was thinking he is standing in prasadam line, he landed up at shoe stall. When we used to have our distribution on that side. And then what to speak of, once you have the plate, then you have to finish everything in time and you can't spend time talking and discussing. And so, unfortunately, this is not like Vrindavan where space can expand. So the number of devotees are expanding, space is still limited. So many times the experience may not be always joyful. Right? You may look at a gulab jamun and keep looking after he puts one also. So if it is Vrindavan, they will give 2 more or 10 more. But here they will say, kya dekh rahe? Don't look too much in this direction. Go beyond. So there are some challenges in keeping this experience joyful in this kind of a setting. And the third thing is, he says, Mridulacha balakam. Mridula means the place for eating must be comfortable and soft. And fourthly, it is described here, Dhvani pratidhvani lasat drumakulam. And there was nice sound being made by the cuckoos and the bees. So there should be a nice music. So therefore, like His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj during our very initial days in the ashram emphasized that when taking prasadam there should be some reading of spiritual literature. So usually in our afternoon we read Prabhupada Lilamrita. And that is very auspicious to be hearing something nice when honoring prasadam. So Krishna and the cowherd boys were eating, and at this point the cowherd boys, it is described, whatever flowers and leaves were available, they were using that as their plates and cups. And all of them were actually enjoying in the natural surroundings in the forest. And at this stage, it is described here that Krishnasya Vishwat Pururaji Mandalai Abhyanana Pulla Drishir Braja Kulah. That Abhyanana, Krishna was sitting in the middle, all the cowherd boys were surrounding him. There was an inner circle, then the next circle, then the next circle. In this way, Krishna was like the center of the whirl of the lotus, and all the other cowherd boys were like the lotus petals. And hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys were thus sitting like that. There was apparently, materially or externally, looked to be an intensely crowded scenario. Krishnasya Vishwat Pururaji Mandala Abhyanana Fulladrisha Vrajarbhaka. So Vrajarbhaka, all the cowherd boys were appearing Fulladrisha. Fulladrisha means they appeared in bliss. They were in great bliss. And even the cowherd boys sitting way behind and who may not have been right in front of Krishna was in great bliss. Why? The word used is Abhyanana. Abhi Anana. Anana means face. That means wherever their location was, however close or far from Krishna they were, by the mystic potency of Krishna, each cowherd boy felt the most intense intimacy in their relationship with Krishna, and they experienced that Krishna is sitting right in front of me. No one is there between Krishna and me. So this is the mystic potency of Krishna, by which he allows every soul to experience the confidentiality, the intimacy, and the most amazing comfort of knowing that yes, I am there only for you. That power is not there within any conditioned soul. And therefore those who are closely connected to Krishna, the pure devotees, also get that potency to some degree. And they also have the ability to transmit that warmth across to those who come in contact with them, that yes, I am your best friend. I am always there for you. I am there with you. So the word Abhyananaha used, that because every cowherd boy, Vrajarbhaka, experienced Krishna face to face, irrespective of their physical location in the lotus formation in which they were sitting. Therefore they were full drisha. They were in great bliss. They were in great joy. So therefore, Prabhupada mentions in the second canto purport, loneliness is a phenomena which manifests in the absence of a tangible experience of Krishna. When one does not have the experience of a relationship with Krishna, one starts experiencing loneliness. And why one doesn't experience the presence of Krishna is because of impurities, anarthas, and desires to enjoy sense gratification. So to the extent one becomes purified, that purification leads to tangible perception of Krishna. Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaro yato jagat sthanam nirodha sambhava. And to that extent one is able to see Krishna's presence everywhere. And that ability to perceive and reciprocate with Krishna's presence everywhere, that is the secret of self-satisfaction and inner contentment and joy. And that we can see in this beautiful formation. And this picture, practically most ISKCON devotees must have seen. Practically it's the favorite picture to be put in Prasadam hall, anywhere. Whether you see it anywhere or not, you will always see it in the Prasadam hall. This picture where Krishna is sitting, Abhyanana, Fulladrisha Vrajarbhakaha. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he got all of his BBT artists to make paintings relating to shlokas from the Bhagavatam. Nothing was random. It was not that someone just picked up a brush and started painting and then that became a picture. No. Everything has a shastric basis. You know, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he tells the story that one time he just made a painting. He was sitting in Vrindavan, he liked the scene of the sun setting or something, he liked it. And he made a, nice picture. And there was practically no Krishna in that. It was just like a forest scene. Then he remembered that, I'm a BBT artist. I'm supposed to also, insert Krishna somewhere. So he just put Krishna somewhere. But that was not his original intention. He liked the nature scene very well, which inspired him. So he brought it to Prabhupada. Prabhupada could immediately detect. And Prabhupada asked him, which shloka? Prabhupada asked, which shloka from Bhagavatam? He said, well, this is Krishna Lila. Krishna is unlimited. Prabhupada said, but you are limited. So this very famous BBT picture is from this particular shloka. Abhyanana, each one of the cowherd boys saw Krishna sitting right in front. That's the power of Krishna consciousness. That irrespective of the kind of service which we may do, so we are part of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. To the extent our consciousness is deeply enriched and connected to Krishna, then the external details of the services which we do will not matter much in our experiencing what these cowherd boys are experiencing. Personally, I have seen, some volunteers coming and serving in the kitchen for years together. There is one old man who keeps coming for years together. He will come, he runs his taxi or is a driver or something, he does something outside. He will come in the evening, 2 to 3 hours, he will wash the pots, clean the things, and irrespective of who the kitchen in charge has been, his service has been constant. He may not be even attending too many classes or this or that. He may not have read too many books also. But there is a certain kind of faith and there is a certain kind of desire to serve. And he is extremely satisfied in the way he is getting an opportunity to serve Krishna and please Krishna. And that taste is keeping him going. So therefore, many times we get more absorbed in the details of how we want to serve rather than the consciousness in which we want to serve. So it is like getting too much absorbed in figuring out where I sit in this particular role. So therefore, most important is, and therefore we find that many times after a few years in Krishna consciousness, especially those who take leadership roles, get into a spiritual crisis, because by taking up leadership roles, they assume that we are coming closer to Krishna. We are sitting near to Krishna, near the center of the world. So physically they may be so, but because our consciousness may not correlate and be in sync with the activity, then gradually we start experiencing a certain kind of vacuum. And therefore, this is a very important picture, a very wonderful shloka, Abhyanana. And then one starts taking the process of Krishna consciousness cheaply, and one doesn't suddenly start seeing Krishna anymore. Krishna, who used to be right present in front of me, is no longer present. I am worried what's going on. Full adrisha. And once we cannot see Krishna straight, directly, full adrisha, the experience of joy also gradually decreases. And this disappointment, distress, should be a warning bell, should be an alarm ringing, that I must do something to change the way things are going on in my Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Krishna consciousness very much depends on the individual effort and not necessarily depend on the proximity we may have to someone who has put lot of effort. So therefore, this very beautiful point is made here. Prabhupada says, ISKCON is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. Then all the activities can become beautiful and blissful. Like that. So therefore, Prabhupada created this society on the basis of hearing and serving. Hearing, chanting and serving. And that's why he spent so much of his effort in translating these books. You know, Prabhupada was in Mayapur and devotees had come for a darshan. And everyone was sitting silently in front of Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, any questions? Everyone looked at each other. Prabhupada said, anyone has any questions? Nobody had any question. So Prabhupada said, you have come here to take darshan, you must have questions. How you cannot have questions? You must ask question. So when Prabhupada got on their case, so one devotee raised his hand. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, in the Bhagavatam, it is said like this. Is it right? Prabhupada said, you are questioning Bhagavatam. Already it is said in Bhagavatam means it is absolute truth. So what kind of a question is this? And then Prabhupada, he chastised that devotee. And Prabhupada said, I have written so many books so that we get an opportunity to discuss about Krishna. By asking questions about Krishna, sharing answers about Krishna. And when we do this, parasparano kathanam pavanam bhagavat yasha mitharati mitahatushti nivritta mita atmana. Then the tendency of the tongue to engage in prajalpa goes away. And then we can actually absorb our consciousness in Krishna. Then we develop a desire to serve. Otherwise, the desire to serve is not automatic. You know, in the West, this was a concept unheard of. You know, when Prabhupada went, young people were serving. Prabhupada was sitting in Paris outside the temple. It was a summer day, and one devotee was doing chamar to Prabhupada. And one local Paris man walked past. He walked past looking at this scene of one, Western person is doing this chamara to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is sitting and chanting. He was shocked. He went ahead, stopped, came back, kept staring at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada kept looking at him. So finally he couldn't resist. So this man looked at Prabhupada, pointed his finger at this man doing chamar, and he said, looking at Prabhupada, why is that man serving you and fanning you like this? Why is he fanning you like this? Prabhupada said, because it is hot. So he got the answer. It was the right answer. But many priests would come to Prabhupada and ask him that these same boys, they were coming to the church, they were coming, they were actually born in Jewish families or this family, that family. Rather than serving, they were only enjoying. How is it that they are doing so much of service? And Prabhupada said that because the soul is a part and parcel of Krishna. And by chanting Hare Krishna, that service attitude has been revived. So the process is perfect. But the proper application of the process is very important. So here, Prabhupada is writing this beautiful purport. All activities will become beautiful and blissful when we keep Krishna in the center. So Prabhupada says, ISKCON is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. So we should not become skeptical thinking that, oh, in spite of all this, there are fights and this and that, and what is this going on? Because we have come a long way in this attempt. And at least there is hope for this world, that they can get connected to these activities and perfect their lives. Bibhrat vedum jatara patayo shringa vetre chakakshe vame pano masrana kavalam tat phalani angulishu tishtyan madhye swapari suhrdao narmabhir hasayan narmabhir swai swarge loke mishati bubuje yagyabhuk balakeli. So this is one of the most important verses of this pastime, where it is described Bibhrat Vedum. So Krishna was sitting there in the center. Now Shukadeva Goswami is taking the camera closer, is giving a close-up of Krishna. Bibhrat Vedum. So Krishna has put his Venu on one side, where Jatara Patayo. So on top of dhoti there is one more cloth which Krishna wears. So between that cloth and the dhoti, in that gap, Krishna has put that flute. Why? Because that cloth is tight. So if he puts, then no one can remove it. Because Krishna is worried, if I am eating, the cowherd boys may just steal that flute and hide it somewhere, and later ask for a ransom for getting it back. So they have done that like that in the past. So that was part of their Leela. So Krishna made sure that his flute is intact. Jatara Patayo, it is between that. And Shringa Vetre Chakakshe. And on his left side, there is the buffalo horn and the stick with which he uses for taking care of the cows. Vame Panao Masrana Kavalam Tat Phalani Angulishu. Vame, in his left hand, Masrana Kavalam. He has, Masrana Kavalam means rice mixed with yogurt. Fresh yogurt, which has been churned with great love and affection by Yashoda Mai, and from the milk of Padmagandha cows. So that yogurt, you don't need anything. If you just have that yogurt with the rice, it is so satisfying. Vame Pano Masrana Kavalam Tat Phalani Angulishu. And in between, he has fruits between his fingers, stuck. That's what Sanatana Goswami says, that actually he has certain, pickles, lemon, ginger, chili, and one more fruit. That is what is there, and he has that in his left hand. Tat phalani angulishu tishtan madhye. He is sitting right in the middle, as we see in this picture. Parisuhrdo, and surrounded by all of his associates. Hasayan narmabhir swaihi. He is laughing and making his friends and associates also laugh. Therefore Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So we come in contact with this process. It is supposed to decrease the distress, kleshagni, and increase our joy. Swarge loke mishati bubhuje. So all the associates of Indra, that means all the heavenly denizens, Swarge loke, when they were watching this scene, they were astonished to see the way Krishna was reciprocating with the cowherd boys, exchanging the juta, taking the juta of these boys and giving his own juta. And this whole scene, it was extremely difficult for the denizens of the heavenly planets to digest. Yagyabhuk balakeli. Yagyabhuk means after chanting proper perfect mantras for a long time, even in the heavenly planets, the demigods have a tough time that they have to do everything properly. Then Krishna or Vishnu appears and accepts the offering of the yajna. So it has to be, the ingredients have to be pure, the timing has to be right, the mantras have to be chanted with proper ucharan, the qualification of the brahmanas is considered. So many factors put together, ultimately, and many times Krishna would not appear also. So the demigods were used to many frustrating yajnas also. So it was not guaranteed that Lord would come. But here, just imagine if we do something with great effort and someone without any effort manages. So many times one feels anger, one feels injustice. What is this? What is this going on? Like you have been chanting 16 rounds for 3 years, 4 years, not getting initiated. And someone comes yesterday, starts chanting 1 round, today stands 16 rounds, get initiated tomorrow. Will you accept it? No. Not possible. So like that, they were thinking that, Arey, how can these boys with all these exchanges make yajna bhuk eat? So that is balakeli. So this was the second thing which bewildered Lord Brahma. So at this point, it is described that the cowherd boys were eating. So the speciality of the cowherd boys is described. So one may think that the only thing they are doing is sitting and eating. Why they are considered so great? These are pastimes which even I can enact. It is not so difficult. So the next verse clarifies. Bharataivam vatsapeshu bhunjaneshu achyutatmasu vatseshu antarvane duram vibishu trinalobhita. So very beautiful verse. Bharataivam. So Shukadeva Goswami is referring to Parikshit as Bharata. That you are a member of the Bharata dynasty. So it is quite natural that you are eager to hear about Krishna. Bharataivam vatsapeshu bhunjaneshu achyutatmasu. So these three words come together. Vatsapeshu bhunjaneshu achyutatmasu. So bhunjaneshu, so now references to the cowherd boys. They are sitting and continuously eating with Krishna, laughing, joking, sharing things, taking Krishna's remnants, giving their remnants. Bhunjaneshu. But as they are absorbed in eating, it may appear that the only thing they are thinking is only of laddu and peda and kachori and all the other things. But the word used is achyutatmasu. Their interest in this entire activity was mainly because Krishna was there. And they get a chance to reciprocate with Krishna through all of these items. So they were not bhojanatmasu. Their atma was not in bhojan. Their atma was in achyuta. So that means the food was not in their mind. The food was the thing which they were, exchanging externally, but what was internally in their mind was achyuta. Whereas when we come across a full plate, we become completely go in samadhi. And anyone asks any question, we put them on hold. Even jokes later. We have to focus here. Okay. So, very beautiful word, achyutatmasu. Their mind was focused in achyuta. And vatsapeshu. So, vatsapeshu means that they had so much of faith in Krishna that they knew if we simply are absorbed with Krishna, everything will be taken care, including taking care of our cows. So therefore, when a person is completely absorbed in Krishna, his maintenance, his work, everything is taken care. As people say, roti, kapada, makan. Why you are not coming to temple? Arey, I am busy. Kyun? Papi pet ka sawal hai. I have to earn my livelihood. I have my job. I have my food to maintain and everything. But vatsapeshu, bhunjaneshu, achyutatmasu. Because their mind was completely absorbed in Krishna, practically speaking, everything was going on automatically. So Saraswati Thakur in Gaudiya Math was sitting and honoring prasad. In front of him, one life member came. And they were offering him prasadam. So in that menu, rasgulla was there. So 2 rasgullas they served. Then this man called the server, said, put 2 more. Then few more. Then few more. He went on eating rasgulla. 15-20 he just gobbled right in front of Saraswati Thakur. So then Saraswati Thakur was observing quietly. Then after some time, after he had finished his whole series of rasgullas, then Saraswati Thakur asked him, are you eating rasgulla or is rasgulla eating you? So he asked this question. Then he said that as far as prasadam is concerned, it is actually Krishna. So we may be thinking that I am enjoying Krishna, but actually the whole mood in honoring is that Krishna is enjoying us. So I should be enjoyed by the Lord. So that is the whole idea of the prasadam prayers which we chant. So therefore, these boys were not in the mood of enjoyer. They were in the mood that we are absorbed in Krishna, and Krishna is relishing these pastimes, our reciprocations, and that is what was inspiring them. So that is described here in this. So at this point, Krishna goes out to search for. So what happens is suddenly the Leela Shakti, and the word used here is Trinalobhita, that Antar Vane Duram Vivishus Trinalobhita. Suddenly the calves, they were following the grasses as they were eating. Trinalobhita. Out of great greed for the grass, they went very far and got lost in the forest. So Trinalobhita means that Lord Krishna, by his Yogamaya potency, arranged in such a way that these grasses appeared to be more and more flavorful. The taste went on increasing. So the calves started going further and further away, because Krishna wanted to perform this Leela. So now at this stage, again the Leela Shakti made the cowherd boys aware of those calves, because Krishna wanted the cowherd boys to now ask a question. So the cowherd boys said, "Oh, we don't see our calves. Where the calves have gone?" And Krishna, at that point, it is described, saw that the cowherd boys were in great fear. What fear they had? Number one, they had fear that our calves may be eaten by some tigers. Number two, they had fear that when we return home, what face we will show if we return without the calves. Because that is the Godhan, that is the real wealth. So therefore, the parents will shout at us, they will chastise us because we were irresponsible. They will say, "You were just busy eating in the forest. What you did when the cows were roaming, what you were doing?" What answer they will give? They can't show this picture that this was the greatest thing we could do. So they were very fearful. Tan drishtva bhayasantrastan uche krishnasya bhibhayam mitrani ashan ma viramata ihanirshye vatsakan aham. So at this point, tan drishtva, seeing them fearful, bhayasantrastan uche krishnasya bhibhayam, Krishna, who can defeat, who can subdue even fear personified, he said, "Mitrani, oh my dear friends, ma viramata. Don't go." Some of the cowherd boys got up, Madhu Mangal and 2-3 others got up. No, we have to come, we have to come, we have to come. No, you just sit and eat. Ihaneshya vatsakanaham, I will go and get those calves and bring them back. You just sit. Don't leave at all. So Prabhupada says that in presence of Krishna's friendship, nobody will have any fear like that. So therefore, iti uktva dri kunja gahavareshu atmavatsakan vichinvan bhagavan Krishna sapani kavalo yayau. Vichinvan bhagavan. So Krishna at that point left. So Prabhupada says that Krishna controls material energy. He can get anything done through his material nature. But when his devotees are in distress, Krishna takes the responsibility personally. Krishna personally went to destroy the anxiety and the distress of his devotee friends. Therefore he is Hari. Iti uktva, speaking like this, that I am going to bring the calves back. Iti uktva adri dari kunja gahavareshu. Krishna was searching and searching in Govardhan. He was searching in Jatipura, in Aniyor, in near Radhakund. All those places Krishna was just roaming around. So Adri, the entire mountain of Govardhan, Krishna scanned. Dari, he went inside all the caves. Kunja, he went into the bushes. Gahavareshu, he went into Gahavar, very difficult places to enter. Atmavatsakan, the word used is very beautiful. Searching for Atmavatsakan, his own cows. So Krishna is so loving. So Prabhupada says Atmavatsakan refers to the calves of his Atmas, his soul, the devotees. The calves were the property of the cowherd boys. That is referred to by Shukadeva Goswami as Atmavatsakan. Those devotees were Krishna's Atma. They were his soul. What will someone not do to protect or maintain his own life and soul? Atmavatsakan. So Krishna was struggling, searching for these calves in Adri, Dari, Kunja, Gahavareshu. Vichinvan Bhagavan, Krishna was searching. Sapani Kavalo Yayau. So he was still having Kavalo. The rice and the curd was still there in the hand. So the Acharyas explain why. Sapani Kavalo Yayo, he has left all the cowherd boys, but he has not left that prasad in the hand. Okay. So Radha Govind Maharaj explains that the curd rice is also called bhata. And the devotee, bhakta, is also called bhata sometimes. The bhakta and bhata word are many times interchangeably used. You know, that is Sanskrit. So, he quotes that Krishna wants to demonstrate that I may give up many important things, but I will never let my devotee down. I will always carry him with me. You know, so Sapani Kavalo Yayau, Krishna was holding that kaval in his hand. Another beautiful lesson which comes out of this is the calves are also known as go. Go means calves or the cows. But go also means senses. So another beautiful understanding of these calves disappearing and Krishna going to get them is that sometimes even when a person is seriously practicing Krishna consciousness, sometimes his senses may go astray. The go or the senses may get distracted. So Krishna is assuring that even while practicing Krishna consciousness, if sometimes a devotee's senses get distracted, don't leave the party. Don't leave the process of Krishna consciousness. Continue with the association and the process. I take the guarantee of going and bringing those distracted senses back and making sure that they are again reinstated. So Krishna gives that assurance to the devotee. Of course, that should not inspire one to deliberately get distracted. But this is a beautiful bhav, is that Krishna says, I take the responsibility of bringing the senses back. Just sincerely continue the practice. Even if there is some distraction, continue taking shelter of the holy name. Pray to the Lord helplessly that I am not able to control my senses. I am not able to focus my attention on your lotus feet. I am not able to put my enthusiasm in your service. Please help me. And Krishna will go get those senses which have gone astray and bring them back. So therefore, Krishna is always there to help at every stage. And this is the point at which, when Krishna is away from the cowherd boys, he has not yet reached the cows, then Brahmaji takes the opportunity to steal. Ambho janma jani tadantaragata mayar bhakas ishitu. It is described, the entry of Brahma in this pastime begins with the word Ambho janma jani, that one who is born on the lotus flower. And Prabhupada gives the purport that anyone who is materially born will have mistake, will have tendency to commit mistakes. So therefore, Brahmaji also got trapped in this whole principle. Drishtva aghasura mokshana prabhavata praptam param vismayam. He was vismayam, astonished. How Aghasur got this mokshan? How this Krishna is, so that is this. Drashtum manju mahitvam. Drashtu manju mahitvam anyat. So manju means pleasing. So drishtum, he had a desire to see the manju mahitvam, the pleasing pastimes of Krishna. So he was like wanting to see some more pastimes. But the way he did it, his intention was good, action was inappropriate. So therefore it shows that even if somebody is very, very highly responsible, then to the extent his intentions may be good, his actions are also subject to deep scrutiny. And one has to be extremely careful and not get the feeling that if my intentions are right, everything is okay. So, drashtum, he wanted to see manju mahitvam, the pleasing pastimes or the pleasing glories of the Lord. So in that sense it is an innocent intention. It is not wrong. You wanted to see, Hare, Aghasur has been delivered, playing like this with these boys, let me see what else he can do. Some curiosity. But the approach he took to see that manju mahitvam was not correct. And therefore this Brahma Vimohan Leela, Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, represents two anarthas. One is the false pride one may have in creation. False pride thinking that I am a great creator. And second is the tendency for using mental speculation to trying to understand Krishna's pastimes and glories. That Krishna cannot be understood through one's brain and intelligence. Krishna can only be understood atah Sri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai sevon mukhaihi jihvadav. Only by service Krishna can be understood when Krishna reveals. And we cannot forcibly see Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. So the problem was here, drashtum, he desired manju mahitvam. So he had a desire to see Krishna, but with his brain, with his intelligence, with his limited faculties, and didn't follow the proper process. So he was an unauthorized, unauthorized trespasser in this arena. A place where Krishna only can admit, where Lakshmi is performing austerities for millions of years to get an entrance. Only when she agrees to follow certain conditions, she is allowed inside those pastimes. So this is a very, very, very elite club where entry is by invitation only. And therefore Brahmaji thought that since I am the creator, I have life membership rights to this club. But he was not correct in his judgment. And therefore this pastime, each shloka, if you go ahead, it is fascinating and filled with a lot of nectar. And we are grateful to Prabhupada that he gave so much of nectar when he himself, his body was racked with so much of pain, so much of disease. But he understood that this nectar is ultimately going to take us beyond this painful body and painful material existence. So we are very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving his heart and soul, translating his books in the middle of the night, and setting up Bhaktivedanta Book Trust to continue on this legacy and printing millions and millions of books, and more than 10 to 15 crores of Prabhupada's books have been distributed all over the world by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. In this coming month of December, we will have the opportunity to participate in the book distribution marathon. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.